This is what freaks most people out, because if you're coming in, you're like, I want to do this, and I want to gain weight and I want to put on muscle. Most people, and I'm not saying you, are going to say like, oh, I have to eat that much, but aren't I going to get fat? And I'm like, motherfucker, like you came to us. Do I look fat? I
Right.
was fat. I know it. I can get you fat. You eat mac and cheese and drink beer every day and we'll get you fat. Where in your mind do you think I want you to be fat?
Welcome to the Hidden Summit podcast. My name is Kevin Valance and I will be your host. On this podcast, we're going to talk about fitness, nutrition, lifestyle, and everything in between. If you find anything valuable in this episode, the only thing I'm ever going to ask you to do is subscribe so you can keep coming back and elevate your life to become better every single day.
All right, Sean, welcome to the party. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, dude. I mean, this is one of the things that we wanted to do at Hidden Summit is like have conversations with real people who have seen real results, whether it be with us, before us, after us, because, not everyone is going to hear what I have to say or what one of the coaches have to say. And it's not, I mean, it won't resonate the same way as it will if it's you, right? Because you're the one in it every single day, doing the work every single day. And kind of just want to dive into that a little bit, right? Like, we could tell your story, what were you doing before this and how'd you get here? But like, let's just start from today. Like what's going on in your world today? I know you got a pretty demanding job. So what's happening over there?
Yeah, just trying to get through wintertime back to the busy season. So
Yeah. And what is it that you do again?
Landscaping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when
So
go
we
for
do
it. Yeah.
commercial and residential. Probably 80% of the business is all commercial. So big land development type jobs, home builders, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then the other 20% is made up of a little bit of maintenance on the commercial side and then custom high-end residential.
So what is that like in the wintertime in Colorado? I know you guys had like negative 30 degrees a month ago and it snows every other day, but it melts by noon. So like, what's that
Yeah.
look like on your day to day?
Yeah, winter's weird. It's a lot slower, so I have a little bit more flexibility in my schedule, a little more free time. I don't have to be out the door at 6 a.m. or anything.
Okay.
We do snow removal too, so anytime it snows, we're out plowing and shoveling. We have probably 20, 25 snow properties,
Sure. Okay.
so
So
we
keeping
do a lot of
busy.
that.
And
Yep.
then, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, where you're at, um, it'll snow through February and March. You can still like hit the mountains and everything, even into April, but like down below, it'll warm up rather quickly. And the midday gets pretty hot again,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. A lot of times we'll get it'll snow, like we get snowstorms in May. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
so once we get to March, it's a little better because the weather starts warming up, and then we'll get random snowstorms.
Got it. Got it. Cool.
Then that's when it melts off pretty quick. Is the spring months? It's a heavy wet snow, and then it's gone in a couple days.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
but yeah, right now we've had snow on the ground for 2.5 months.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's Colorado. That's why I live
Yeah,
here by the beach and I got a palm tree in my house, I
right.
suppose.
Yeah,
Awesome, Sean. Well, look, man, I'm glad you're here again. Sean Clair, you've been with Hidden Summit for how long now?
it'll be I think a year in April,
Okay, awesome. So
April or
like,
May. Yeah.
yes, I mean, I don't know exactly, but I know it's been a little bit. So,
Yeah.
what were you doing with your health and fitness before you joined our community?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been pretty active. My dad actually back in the day was a bodybuilder. They had a bodybuilding league he was a Denver cop, so they had like their whole bodybuilding thing going on.
Sure.
So I learned a lot of workout stuff and fitness from him
Right.
growing up, and I've always been active and worked out, but I've never been like fully committed to it. Like I do good for a year or 6 months, and then I kind of fall off, and then I get back on that
Got it.
kind of
Got
thing.
it. Yeah. Real quick, I'm speaking that your dad's a cop and they had a bodybuilding league. Do you know? I mean, you were around it, I'm sure, but like, did he have a bunch of his like police officer friends that would go train with him? Like, what was the vibe like back then, if you can remember at all?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty young at the time, but yeah, he had a bunch of buddies that, they'd always work out. It was either before or after their shifts. and he was a beat cop on the street for a while. I think when he was doing that, that was before he became detective. So he had
Hmm.
some, he worked, you know, overnights, and so he'd work out late at night or early in the morning.
Sure. That's just like
And
what
then,
my brother does, Derek, right now. I don't know if you know that.
yeah,
He's a police officer,
yeah,
and he works the night shift. I literally got off the phone with him right before this, and he worked all overnight, and then he got held. So instead of getting out at 7:30, 8 a.m., he got held, and then he had to do something and show up for court for a ticket. And then after that, he had one other engagement that he had to do. And then he went and took a jujitsu class with all of his cop friends midday. It's a new class. And he was like, oh, shit, it's the first one. Like, I asked for this class. I got to go. It's 5:30 when he calls me. And he's like, what's up? How's your day? And I'm like, oh, doing this, that, the other thing, getting shit done, prepping for next week's challenge. And we're doing a little mini challenge next week's, by the way. Surprise everybody.
yeah.
And he was like, yeah, and then I'm going to go eat dinner with Owen and go back to work. And I was like, wait, are you going to sleep? He was like, no, I can't. I was like, oh, shit. But the reason why I brought that up, not the overnight thing, was because I was talking with someone who runs the health and fitness department at a precinct in Florida, and they want us to come and run a health and nutrition seminar there. And we're going to do that in April, and I'm pumped. So then he was talking to me about some numbers, and he said that they have like 300 people on staff, and they run physical fitness tests. And I know people like you and me would, like, if that was part of our job, we would look forward to doing that with our friends or colleagues to be active. But he said like 10 to 12 people might show up the one time a year that they do it, which blew my mind. So the fact that your dad had some bros to go lift with was it's pretty awesome to hear. We got to bring that back.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I've always remember seeing pictures of him
Yeah.
several years ago, and he actually had, hair, and he was rocking his, 70s porn stash and
There you go.
big thick glasses. So it was pretty hilarious when he was totally ripped, like he was jacked.
That's awesome. I'm trying to bring that back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just bring
Yeah.
that mustache back.
Yeah.
Cool. So you were on and off here and there. Like, why not consistent? Like, what happened in your life? Would be like,
I mean, a lot of it was like in high school, I was in the gym a lot because I played football and hockey, and so that was pretty consistent then. And then college, I still went, but it was, a couple times a week, nothing crazy. Um, and then got in the real world, got a real job, was working 70 hours, 80 hours a week sometimes. So,
Yeah.
and then it just flipped off from there. And I still tried to stay active. And the job I had it was pretty heavy manual labor, even though I was in sales. It was all landscape related. So I was on the supply side at that time. So it was a lot of lifting and loading stuff and selling, but it just kind of fell off.
Yeah. In college, you're pretty reserved, articulate, direct dude. You do your things. We have good conversations. Did you have a good time in college? Did you party or like was that
I
like
didn't really party all that much. I didn't even live on campus. I just went to CU in Denver.
Okay.
So I just commuted down there to do my classes. It's one of those things where I wasn't a big partier. Never was into that.
Yeah.
And I did it because it was cheaper. I didn't want to spend 80 grand on a degree that I'll probably never fucking use. So
Sure. It sounds like you've been in like landscaping for a bit. Did you do any like part-time work over the summers and stuff as growing up, or was it
no,
just
I
kind of
never
like
did actually. It was like after high school and kind of through probably half of college, I just did odd ends, retail jobs.
Mhm.
I grew up on a ranch or a farm where my parents still live. So I was always doing manual labor and stuff from a young age, shoveling horse shit and fixing fence and all that. So I was always into doing outdoor stuff. Never got into landscaping really. And about, I think it was sophomore, junior year in college, I was looking for a different job because I think I was working at Lowe's or something. And there was a landscape supply place pretty big out here called Pioneer. They're like through the whole state. They were hiring in Parker, where I lived at the time, and applied, and they hired me for sales. And then I ended up making that somewhat of a career for 7 years. So I did
Cool.
sales for 4 years, managed a managed the store for 2 years, and then I took over their transportation and dispatch, ran that for a year, which was a mess, and I fixed everything. It was running the best it had in company history, and then
Awesome.
they laid me off. So,
Classic.
yeah. So then
So that so talk to me. Yeah. What? So you're crushing it, and then outside of your control, something happens. Then what? Like what's your thought process at the time before even your action? Like you're a doer. You know how to get shit done, but like at that point, you get laid off for the first time. Like what's going through your head?
well, I had never been laid off or even fired from a job up to
Mm-hmm.
that point. Like I always left on my own terms. So I was freaking out, and it was so my wife now, Michelle, we were together then, but we weren't married yet. We were living together, and I called her until I was obviously pretty pissed off about the whole thing. I was freaking out. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? And I was making pretty good money. All of a sudden, now I'm making nothing. So the first couple of days, I was bitter, angry, pissed off, um, and then I took some time and just kind of reassessed, and actually went and played golf with my dad. A few days later, he invited me out because he knew I got laid off, and I went out. I played the best round of my life because I had no stress from that job because it was very high stress, and they got bought out by an investment company from New York. It changed the entire culture, just ruined it. I mean, the company just went downhill. So at the end of the day, it was a blessing anyway to get out of there. So I took some time, and then I ended up just taking a job. I had a contact at a vendor where we bought all of our hardscape stuff, so retaining wall blocks, pavers. So it was basically a plant that produced all that in Denver. They ended up hiring me, which I did front desk work. So I went from making 65K a year to like $16 an hour, and I had to drive an hour each way through Denver. So
Ugh, rough.
it sucked,
That's
but I needed a job, I needed an income, so
sure.
did that for I think 5 or 6 months. I was actively looking for other stuff in the meantime, just because I knew I didn't want to stay there. I just needed, some money coming in.
Yeah. I mean, you knew it wasn't the end game, but you're like, fuck, I got to
Yeah.
do something. So like, this is here. And honestly, everything I'm hearing, Sean, like from school and driving to school and, taking these jobs and like working these jobs before then and doing this, it's like, I now understand more so than ever before. And I had no doubt about it earlier when we've spoken plenty of times, but like your ability to be humble and focused comes from a lot of these experiences. And I'm sure there's a million things that happen in between, but like, no, I know. I mean, I'm sure people too who would oh, I'd never do that. And you're like, motherfucker, like I need to work. Like
Yeah.
I got to get shit done. So, I kudos to you. Like
Yeah.
congrats to on
Appreciate
being a good human. Like I appreciate you even more now.
it. Yeah. I never wanted to, like, even after I got laid off making 65K a year, I didn't, and going to 16, the thought never crossed my mind, like, oh yeah, it's beneath me. I'm not going to do that. I'm like, no, I got to do what I got to do to pay my bills.
Right.
So,
So then, back on the gym side of things, right? Like you obviously were working crazy hours, and then you were driving through traffic in Denver. And if you guys have never driven in Denver traffic, it is abysmal. Like randomly, just a parking lot. So when did you find time? I mean, like obviously, were you taking care of yourself, your health, your food at all at this time, or are you just kind of like surviving?
yeah, no, I was still working out, probably maybe 3 days a week.
Okay.
I've always ate pretty healthy. Like I don't like a lot of fast food. So, every time you eat it, you feel like shit. So, I definitely ate more of it back then than I do now. But I tried to avoid it as much as I could. I tried to cook at home and, make
Sure.
food
I mean,
that way.
we've been there. I mean, we're balling on a budget, and like that's the Big Mac's fucking $3. Like we're gonna go get something that's alert. I mean, I would say like Taco Bell was my jam when I was poor. I was like, oh, I can
Yeah,
stretch this dollar so far, and it probably has a lot to do with why I have so much bloating problems these days. But
right.
you live and you learn. So if we flash forward, like I don't know the timeline, and we haven't really gotten into the years, right? But how did you find us? at Hidden Summit, and like what was the thought process in that? Like saying,
Yeah,
well,
so I don't know, it was really random. Um, I ended up following Katie on social media,
okay,
probably, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years ago.
sure,
When she was with you guys, and then learned about Hidden Summit kind of through that, and then ended up connecting with her just through Instagram Messenger, talking about fitness stuff and whatever, and ended up just signing up on a whim for
cool,
that. It was an 8 spring challenge last year, last April, I think.
got
And
it,
I just
okay,
said, "Fuck it, I'm going to do it." And
yeah,
my wife was like, "Yeah, you should do it." And then it was a month later, Michelle ended up joining as well. So
yeah. I'm so bummed didn't get a chance to meet her, and I hope she's doing okay with everything going on. I'll have to
yeah,
have her on here one day and get to know her a
yeah,
little bit more too. Just put her on the spotlight and start talking.
yeah,
Um,
sure.
but I mean, so yeah, I mean, so this happens more often than not, right? Like and this is what I have a love-hate relationship with social media, right? Like my life is on social media. I literally got hacked like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, well, do I need this 70,000 followers, or do I like start all over again? And I was like, no, it makes more sense to like keep like the last 9-10 years of building this intact. But there's a lot of good information out there, and people who actually want to make a difference. It's just hidden by all the bullshit and noise that there are way more people of out there on social media. And then us as humans, I'm not saying you and I, but generally speaking, like get sucked into the scroll, and that can be a black hole and waste of your
Yep.
time. But I'm glad that, you've made that connection, right? Like, and then found a home here because you're still here. And I remember when she left, it was, you and I were chatting back and forth, and you were like, no, dude, I want to stay. Like, I'm here to be here, and there's more to it. So like, if we're looking at we'll get into like the physical accomplishments that you've made, because you look awesome. Like, the tags, like when you tag me in a post every day, when you hit the workout, like I get fired up. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I'm going to go train. I'm going to get this shit done. Like, I don't know if you know that, but like that stuff goes a long way when people inside the community share with what they're doing, and it's working. That's awesome. So
Right.
like, what was it about, or what is it about? 'Cause, I mean, we're still here. The community that you really enjoyed, like the nutrition, the mindset, the fitness, the group calls, the challenges, like the community itself. Like, what keeps you coming back?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of everything. I mean, the biggest for me is probably in the mindset because, like before, as far as a fitness mindset, it was pretty much shit. Like, I wasn't fully committed ever, and then, I felt if I took a rest day or a recovery day, I was going to lose everything, or if I missed, even a week, like it just mentally fucked me up, and thought I'd lose all my gains, and that, I've learned now that's not the case because with Michelle having her neck surgery a few weeks ago, I took a week off of work, and I actually still did work out that week. It wasn't as intense as normal just because I had stayed home and just used our home gym because I needed to take care of her. But, I still got movement in, and then there were some days I didn't do anything. I just hung out with her and took care of her. So, and I was okay with it.
That's, I mean, if you guys didn't hear what he just said, he didn't work out for a couple of days, and he didn't lose all of his muscle. He didn't get fat. I just want to repeat that because that is what people think is going to happen, and that is why people don't start. So I am
Yeah.
so thankful that you said that out loud, right? I was in the same boat, man. Like, former 300-pound guy over here, like, I get it. Like, when I got fit, I would not take a day off. I was like, if I take a day off, I'm going to lose it, or I didn't trust myself to mentally stay in the game.
Yeah.
But as you're sharing, like, when we develop how we think on things, we can think clearly and not emotionally, right? So we can be more logical in each situation. And when you look at the science behind it, it's kind of like, oh, it took me, almost a year to get here. If I do take a day off, or spend a week with my wife to make sure that she's better, like, emotionally, I'm going to feel better about being there with her. And there's no way that I'm going to lose all the progress that I made in that short amount of time. So I appreciate you for sharing that. And that's the big thing why Derek and I started, right? The mindset stuff, super important to us. Derek being a Navy SEAL, and myself going through my journey, losing 100 pounds. We knew that it wasn't like the nutrition side of things is simple. There's only so many ways that you could eat food, right? And we don't have to
Right.
overcomplicate it. Working out, something is always better than nothing. And based on what your goals are, I'm going to give you a suggestion on a plan, and it's up to you to put the focus in to do it. That is a little bit more black and white. When it comes to the mindset, I just did a talk on this morning. How old are you, Sean?
35.
35, right? So we're around the same age. I just turned 37. So you have 34 plus years of things that have happened to you that have molded you to who you are in this exact moment, right? And with all of those things, there's probably been some highs and there's probably been some lows. And there's probably been a lot of middle ground. But like, instead of riding the highs and crashing and riding the lows and letting those things dictate our direction, when we can work on the mindset and not react to all of the other things that will happen along the way, instead of basing who we are off of what has happened, you tell me, are you able to see what is going to happen because you have a plan in place and you're able to control that on your own?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So with that in mind, like, what are some wins that you've had over the last year? I'd love to dive into those.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely been more consistent with my workouts. There's not many weeks I don't get them all in, even if I have to switch around, recovery days, do some swapping on that, but I still, still get them in, and so staying consistent with that. Even a lot of days it requires me to, it's been a little weird the last few weeks. Normally I'm up like 5 in the morning. I'll work out before work. Last few weeks my schedule's been off, just dealing with Michelle's surgery, and I kind of just, I don't know, struggled to stay on that. When you get off it for a couple weeks
Sure.
and trying to get back on it, which is natural, but
Yeah,
staying
absolutely.
consistent with that has been definitely a big win for the last year. So
I love that, right? And that's huge. If again, this is another amazing point to be made. Your schedule is determined by you, and if you prioritize it in your day-to-day and organize it on your calendar, you go and do it and you get it done. And I'm sure, like, minus this last week and this current week with what's going on with the surgery, it was probably easier to wake up at 5 a.m. this year, than it was last year when you started, right?
oh yeah,
Yeah. So it takes time. This isn't instant gratification, people. We got to
no,
work for it. And the work isn't actually the work all the time. It's actually the details that lead up to the work. I was talking to a buddy, Dan Bailey, and he was saying, we were talking about getting up early, and he had a great way to look at it. When his alarm goes off, and because he's a 5 a.m. workout guy too, he goes out into his barn. It's like got 3 sweatsuits on. It's ice cold out there. He cranks the propane heater, and it's just him getting after it by himself. Sometimes he rakes some people to come in with him, but it's mostly just him. And he's like, you know what? I do not want to wake up at 5 a.m. and go work out when it's 30 degrees outside in the dark in a barn by myself and grab a cold barbell. So he said, I give myself a cue. I wake up and I'm like, okay, open your eyes. That's number 1. Cue number 2, put your feet on the floor. Okay, I got there. Cue number 3, stand on up. Okay, I got there. Cue number 4, go walk into the bathroom and turn the light on. Cue number 5, splash water on your face. Cue number 6, get dressed. Cue number 7, go have water. Cue number 8, go have coffee. And then you have 8 to 10 wins before you even start to work out. Most people just wake up and like, I don't want to work out. And they go back to bed and they roll over, hit the snooze, and 9 minutes later they buzz, 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 buzz. It wakes you up again. So what I'm hearing you say is that, like, this has become a habit, but I'm sure even subconsciously there were some moments along the way where you're like, all right, there's a reason why I'm doing this, and I'm going to get some wins, right?
yeah, exactly. And I still have a lot of days where alarm goes off at 5 or whatever, and I'm like, I don't want to do this,
Dude, that's
but
my
I do
morning
it anyway.
every single morning at 4:45. I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah,
Just like, how fast can I get to the espresso machine?
yeah, exactly.
Do you drink coffee?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. How do you take your coffee?
I just brew it right out of the pot and
Black.
put a little creamer and
Okay.
collagen in it. Been doing collagen for a while. That's helped a bunch.
The vanilla collagen by First Form in coffee is fire. It's so good.
Yeah, we haven't tried that one yet.
Which one? What flavor do you use?
We've been doing we got chocolate and salted caramel.
Okay,
Those are two we've been.
I think I like the vanilla because it's just not as sweet. Like the salted
Yeah,
caramel is amazing. My favorite actually is the seasonal one, the peppermint mocha.
that's a good one
It's
too.
because like I never have that, and I was just kind of like, oh, this is awesome, and I'd get it one for the season, and then I move back to vanilla. Because I used to like think I was so tough because I like drink my black coffee, and then I do like black coffee sometimes when it's like a really good bean and roast.
Yeah,
But I've gone soft and I make oat milk vanilla collagen lattes every morning, and it's awesome, and I have no shame in that because it's
yeah. When it
delicious.
tastes good, who cares?
That's right, and it wakes me up.
Yep.
Awesome. Little first form plug. Never hurt anybody,
Right.
but
Not an ad, by the way.
yeah, I'll put the link below, and you can get free shipping. um, so moving on, we're talking about fitness, right? So let's talk about your journey, right? You've been with us a year. You've been waking up 5 a.m., working on your mindset, like getting out of your own way, getting things done. Your wife is doing it with you, which I think is super cool. More on that at a later time. I don't want to like get too far off track, but like talk to me about your progress in the gym. Like I just want to celebrate it because we haven't really dove into it, you and I, too much. I see it, but I haven't heard you talk about it. So,
Yeah.
Walk me through that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been good. I've definitely gotten a lot stronger. The other day on doing incline dumbbell bench press, I did 55-pound dumbbells for the first time ever in my life
Okay.
for 8 reps. So that was awesome.
Love that.
I leg pressed 430 pounds for 8 reps.
Okay.
Like a year ago, I could maybe do 300, maybe 280, something like that. So
It's
definitely
awesome.
noticed the strength increase.
Amazing. And it's funny you mentioned the leg press. So with our programming S5, which it is now, it was Hidden Summit Tracks when you started. And I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate your patience in us like putting this together because I think I like this version of the programming more personally. And it's yielding results, which is the important part. And you're saying that you're seeing them. But we break it up into strength, skill, sculpt, sweat, and stretch. So you have at this point different sections that are dedicated to those every day. So it is kind of a pick your journey type of workout plan to be a little bit more well-rounded, cyclical for different strengths and type of training moving forward. So more to come on that. But it sounds like the strength section is paying off for you with the hypertrophy section, right?
Yeah.
So I was talking with one of my other clients yesterday, and she was like, oh, I can't do the leg press with one leg and I have to use two. And I was like, honestly, Jenny, I haven't used the leg press in like 12 years. So I don't even know like what that is relative to a squat because my brother Derek writes the hypertrophy training side
Mm-hmm.
of it, and he's ripped. So I'll let him stick to it. But I think it's awesome that you're doing all of this and you're seeing these improvements and logging all your progress, right? Do you have any fitness goals when it comes to your body, your performance, or like your back squat? Like, what are those?
Yeah, I mean, the main goal is just gain muscle mass. I'd like to obviously add weight to my body. I don't want to cut weight because I've always been a pretty thin guy. In high school, I think I weighed 120 pounds my senior year, soaking wet. So, now I'm hovering right around 160. Varies a
Okay.
little bit here and there, but ideally I'd like to get up to 175
I was gonna say you want to get to 180. You want to do one? You want to get
or
to 180?
180. Yeah,
Okay.
180
Okay.
is good.
I like that.
Yeah.
Are you good with doing strictly like 3 to 8 reps of everything and eating a lot more food? Because we can make that happen.
Yeah, it's going to be what it's going to take. So,
Oh
yeah, the
yeah.
food
Well,
food thing, I never realized until I started this how much food I was not eating.
sure.
Like once you
Yeah.
start tracking it, you realize like, holy shit, I'm not eating near enough food.
Mm-hmm.
You may think you are, but you're not.
Yeah, and let's dive into that for a little bit too, right? When we talk about food, this is what freaks most people out, because if you're coming in, you're like, I want to do this, and I want to gain weight, and I want to put on muscle. Most people, and I'm not saying you, are going to say like, oh, I have to eat that much, but aren't I going to get fat? And I'm like, motherfucker, like you came to us, like Do I look fat? I
Right.
was fat. I know it. I can get you fat. You eat mac and cheese and drink beer every day, and we'll get you fat. But like, this is a all inclusive program where we're going to guide you to get there. And it's not that they're asking questions and I'm getting upset about it, but I'm like, where in your mind do you think I want you to be fat? Right?
Yeah.
And you're a testament to that, right? You're coming in wanting to gain weight. And I honestly think that's more challenging sometimes than losing weight because you have to
It's
eat so much. What are your calories at now?
3,000.
3,000? Yeah, I think we get up to 4 very soon this year.
Yeah.
And I like to do it slowly. And that's why I love working with somebody like you, because I'm not going to put you at like 3 to 4 in overnight. But like, if you got time, we could do this the right way and we can add to this over time to see these changes happen, where your body can acclimate as you go and it can utilize the nutrients that you're giving it as you go forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I've come a long way since back in the college days when the freshmen would come in on the lacrosse team and they're like, I want to gain weight. I'm like, okay, go to the supermarket, buy a tub of peanut butter, buy a loaf of bread, and eat that every single day. I didn't know anything about nutrition back then, but I knew how to get fat, and I knew they were going to be running miles and miles and miles every day. So we made it work. Awesome. Yeah, I would love for you, and this is just my suggestion, like I'm not pressing, but when it comes to fitness goals, like we're going through a cycle. Next week we have 1 rep maxes, right? For the this cycle that we're in. Then we'll deload and we'll go into more of like a hypertrophy style training. So you can really put on some mass on the lower end of that as well. But I would love for you to like rep these new 1 reps, and then from there, like let's set some targets for the year, right? Like where do you want it? Like it could be 6 months, 3 months, but I like to set a big goal and then backtrack. Like where do we want to be by such and such point? And then we check in along the way to make sure we're seeing progress in those areas. Because I don't know, have you ever thought about that before? Like I want to back squat 300 pounds.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes, but not really. I've never really pushed for a goal to be that, but I probably should.
Well, don't shit on yourself, and I think that's like shitting on yourself, right? But would it benefit you to have a target? It's like work, right? And how many clients do we need? How many clients do we have? Okay, how do we make up the difference? Now you have something to work towards and you know how to get there, right? How many clients are leaving this month? How many clients do we need to have come in to, be in the place that we need to have positive growth? There's a million different examples, but the goal that I'm thinking of with you is like, okay, like you want to put on mass and you want to feel strong and you want to look a certain way. This is a micro goal within that to help assist in the process. And if we can do that, right, like we're going to be able to say like, oh, okay, like now I work off this percentages and this is how it should feel. And this is how many reps I need to do. And this is how much rest I need to take. And this is how I felt last week. And I can push a little bit more this week. It just dials you in a little bit more. Right. So when you're in there and you're training, you're like, all right, cool. Like I did, what'd you say, 400 plus on the leg press?
Yeah, it was like 430, 425.
Like 430, or you're like, all right, cool. Like I want to do 500 on the leg press, right? Like, okay, so what does that mean? Like we have between this date and this date, and if we fall short, like we're still going to be able to make sure that we're pushing further.
Yeah,
and we will get there eventually. One of the best things I ever did in fitness was take a sheet of paper like this, like just a little steno pad paper. And I just wrote down my goals, like all of my fitness goals on it. And I put it on the fridge. So I saw that shit every day. So every time like I would go and grab the milk or the water out of the fridge, I would see my goals. And then slowly over the course of the year, I would cross them off. Because I knew that when I was leaving to go to the gym, that would be the last thing I saw before I left the house. And then when I hit it, like I would come in, I would cross one off, and I would cross another one off, and I would cross another one off. And the funny thing is, like I have that paper still. Like when I moved, my ex threw it into the garbage, and I took it and I put it into my box to remind me of like the simple things that happen in life, and what we can do to hold ourselves accountable. So I want you to keep holding yourself accountable. Not that you're not, like that's why you're here talking about it, but
right.
like how do we level up after we've been doing this a long time? Well,
Yeah.
challenge ourselves. Cool. So any other events going on out in Colorado that you, I know Coach Dara lives out there. You meet up with her a lot and go hiking and stuff, right? So you guys got
Yep.
anything coming up in the winter, or are you just going to wait until spring?
Yeah, I haven't had anything yet. Just because the weather's been kind of. I mean, this week's been nice. It's been high 50s. We got to 60 the other day.
Nice.
Still snow on the ground, but yeah, I know Michelle and I definitely want to go do more hiking with Dara and do the incline and all that. So
Did I ask you this last time? Do you ski?
I don't. I used to snowboard back in the day, and then I kind of just got out of it.
The hike was fun. Don't get me wrong, the hike was fun, but I kind of want to do like a Hidden Summit ski trip one day. So
That'd be
so we
fun.
strap the
Yeah.
board back on and we could all fall down the mountain together. Because I'm no good. I just think it's fun.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I wasn't that good even when I did it, so it was a lot of falling down.
Skiing. What can you roller skate?
I used to play hockey, so
Okay. Oh, all right. So skiing
Yeah.
way easier. If you can ice skate, you could ski. And I've only done it a few times, right? I'm no pro, but I snowboarded and I basically rolled down the mountain to keep up with my friends, and I was pretty athletic. And I did
Right.
it like for a weekend, and I was like, never again. I picked up skis and I was like cruising down the mountain, just having a great time.
yeah.
So, yeah, awesome, dude. Well, look, Sean, I love that you were able to come here and you hit on a lot of really good points, right? Like organization, dedication, staying humble, getting the job done, setting yourself up for success, deciding, that you're going to see results and putting yourself in a position to win. Even if you did it unintentionally, like there's so many good little nuggets in this episode. This is one of the better episodes that I've done. I think it's awesome to hear from your lips to everyone's ears that you can start on this journey and put yourself in a position to see success, even if it happens by chance. Because now, the last question I have for you now, what would you say to yourself back then? Like, I know you didn't hesitate to sign up and start, but like, what would you say to yourself back then, knowing what you know now, where you are right now?
I said start sooner.
Don't we all
Don't
wish we
wait.
could start a little sooner? Yeah. So just think about that now for when you talk to the future self talks to you again, right? There's a lot more to do, and I always like to say we're just getting started. That's the best part about this.
That's how I feel too. It's been a year, but I feel like I'm still the first couple months. So
Hell yeah, man! I've been doing this a long time, and I've had a lot of ups and downs. But even still, I look back and I'm like, all right, we ain't done nothing yet, so let's keep going.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, dude. Well, where can everybody find you on social media if you want to give it out? If you don't, you don't have to. But like,
that's fine. Yeah. Instagram is the main one. I don't use Facebook a whole lot, but Instagram is just at Clair38.
All right. So at Clair38, that's CLAIRE.
No
E? No E. See, well, I'll edit that, so that sounds good.
Right.
Anyway. Dude, thank you for coming. Let's do this again sometime. And again, let's touch base after this so we get you set up with some increased macros and get ready to crush some big lifts next week and then get into the next session.
Yeah, works for me. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. See you later,
Thanks,
Sean.
man. We'll see you.
You got it.